As someone who has played video games basically my entire life, ever since I was 5 years old, and one of my friends brought in a Game Boy original, a fucking DMG, and I played Super Mario Land 2, Six Golden Coins, I was mesmerized by the medium of video games. And I've always wanted to make one. But coding is hard, and so I never really got around to it. Late last year, I decided that I really wanted to start getting into making games. Video games have been my largest artistic influence forever, you know? It's a medium that I've participated in more than anything else. I've spent a ton of money on video games, a lot of time playing video games, and it's always been a medium that I've just thoroughly enjoyed and is fucking great. So I found a tool called Construct 3, which allows you to make video games without any coding, even though I am learning coding. I'm learning Python right now, and I plan on switching to a more robust engine in the future. But I made a video game, a little demo called Azumi and the Vertical Slice, which you can play on itch and Newgrounds. I'll link them in the description. And it was such a fascinating experience. And coming out on the other side, making this small little product after playing video games for the better part of 20 years, I firmly believe that if you're a huge fan of video games, you owe it to yourself to try and make one. Because making a game teaches you so much about games. And of course, that's kind of obvious when you sit down and think about it. But I didn't expect that making a game as a creator would help me better understand games as a player. It's a really interesting thing that happened. Building a game from the ground up, building this 2D action platformer, which is one of my favorite genres, it really helped me kind of come to terms and realize what I really liked about games. Because for almost the entirety of the game's development, which took about 3 to 4 months of effort, most of that time, the game felt like shit to play. A lot of the time is spent getting the foundation working, getting the platform set up, getting the level design, getting the animations working. But there's a level of polish that goes into making a game from functional to fun. And it was that last little gap that really solidified my understanding of what I liked about games. Because you want to make a game that you enjoy playing. Of course, I think every game has been made, at least any game has been made with passion behind it. The person making it or team making it was making a game they wanted to play, that they would enjoy playing. That's kind of like how you figure out your benchmark of, is this lining up with my vision? Is this working? But in doing so, you have to confront a product that for a lot of the time is not what you want it to be. You haven't crossed the gap from what it is to what you want it to become. And you have to sit down and figure out, okay, I have a functional system right now. I have, a movement system, but it doesn't feel right. Why is that? I have jumping, but the jumping doesn't feel right. I have combat, but the hits feel like crap. And normally when you're playing a video game, and you play a game that doesn't feel the way you want it to be, or it just isn't fun, you just stop playing and you go play something that is fun. You know that the game isn't fun, but you never really have to stop and think about why. When you make a game, it forces you to confront your own biases and your own likes and dislikes when it comes to games. You have to take this product that you're working on and force it to become something you actually have fun playing. And so because you're creating it from scratch, not just looking for a game that lines up with your taste, you're making one from scratch, it forces you to dig much deeper in terms of what is it that I actually like about these games. It's no longer I'll know it when I see it. I have to consciously sit down and create it. And so I realized that to make really tactile, cathartic combat, there were tons of little tiny things that I never actually noticed as a player that I had to implement as a creator to make sure it was there. Hit stop was such a minor little detail that every time you hit something, there's like a couple frames of a pause to give that hit an extra sensation, an extra layer of oomph that when I implemented it, changed the way the entire game felt. And it was such a minor thing. Adding screen shake turned everything up to 11 in terms of the impact and the catharsis from all the hits. Having animations that worked better, adding some extra flourish. There were all these little things in the last part of development that made it go from a functional game to a fun game. At least for me. I made it fun for me. And going through this process allowed me to figure out exactly what I like as a player and then be able to implement that in a game. And so now when I play other games, because I'm much more acutely aware of not just what I like, but why I like it, it's very easy to look at games and understand the systems more being on the other side. It helps me better articulate what I like about games and what I don't like about games. I think my whole thing with Dark Souls and Bloodborne was really the ability to latch on so quickly to what I liked about Bloodborne versus what I didn't like about Dark Souls was heavily influenced by working on Izumi and the Vertical Slice and really understanding through building that game, coming to terms with what I really liked about games. And playing Devil May Cry 5 and Bloodborne and Dark Souls, after these are most of the games I played after building this, having it be finished, it really helped me appreciate and understand as a player what aspects of these games were working for me and what aspects were not. It was just such an interesting learning tool. Even if you really have no interest in making games, I think if you're an avid game player, building one, even in something like Construct 3 that doesn't require programming experience and lets you kind of build it a lot more easily, and grabbing some pre-made assets off the web and using them if you're not artistically inclined, just the way that you better understand games, so this is how hitbox works, this is how pathfinding works, this is how platforming works, this is how state machines work, and understanding those foundational building blocks of video games, and then taking it the extra level once you have the function in place, making it fun, and then saying, okay, what is my idea of fun? What does it really mean? I can play Devil May Cry or I can play Shinobi and be like, yeah, these are fun, but why? It forces you to really confront that why and define that why, and you can say, these are tiny little aspects about the game that once they're put in, take it from functional to fun, and it helps you identify exactly what you think is fun and why it's fun. And I think that's a really interesting thing that going into making the game, I didn't expect to happen, but in retrospect, on the other side, it seems completely obvious that would be a natural repercussion of building something from scratch like this. I know not everybody's a programmer. I'm barely a programmer. I've been doing some Python stuff, and let me tell you, it's a different way of thinking for sure. But there are tools out there like Construct, like Stencil, like GDevelop, that will let you make games without having to learn coding. I really think it'll benefit people who really enjoy video games to get on the other side and actually build something. And it'll help you not only better appreciate the games you play, but it'll help you better understand your taste, because we all create based on our own tastes. You're not going to really make a game that you don't find fun. So you're going to have to dissect that fun and understand what you think is fun. And it's just such an interesting process as I did it. I slowly learned why I found games fun and then how to implement that fun. It was just, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it's such an interesting perspective. And it was a great learning experience. So I highly recommend that. That's all I got for this vlog. Patreon.com/polystation2 if you enjoy my ranting. Give a couple bucks to your favorite creator. If it's not me, we're all struggling here. We're all way poorer than fucking Activision and EA. And we all have to pay our taxes on fucking Amazon. So throw somebody a bone. If it's not me, give $1 to someone. That's all I got for now. And I'll talk to you in the next video.